Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, guys, this is a declaration from Pia Gardini, declaration number 2. Some of the terms Maria uses in this declaration are unique to Scientology. And then they've got a glossary to explain that, presented by Stacy Brooks. This is related to Moxon too. I'm going to go ahead and read it. I don't remember exactly, but we'll get there. Presented by Stacy Brooks, March 1st, 2001. Declaration of Pia Gardini. I, Pia Gardini, declare as follows. I am over the age of 18 years. The statements herein are of my own personal knowledge, and if called upon as a witness, I can testify competently thereto. 3. My name is Pia Gardini. I am an Italian citizen. So I didn't pronounce it correctly. The Flag Service Organization defrauded me of $1 million while I was working on their staff as a highly trained Class 4 auditor. I think that's a 4. 4. On the 21st of December, 1991, Tito Mazza, who was the Flag Service IC in charge in Italy, and Marco Pugeli, who was a Flag FSM field staff member, came to my home in Italy seeking a donation for a Class 8 project at Flag. Shortly after they arrived, Debbie Cook, the commanding officer for the Flag Service Organization in Clearwater, Florida, called on the telephone concerning this same project. She told me the cost of executing the program was $2 million. $2 million. Isn't this coercion? Maybe a law expert, a judge, or someone could explain. That sounds like coercion. $2 million US, and she wanted me to finance the entire project. If I remember, I'm just going to jump in. If I remember correctly, she had gotten some type of inheritance. So I'll go back and share the number 1. I don't know why I did this out of order. Yeah, so you know they smelled money. I told her I would never give them $2 million, whereupon she said she knew I would inherit. There it is. She knew I would inherit a large sum of money from my mother's death just 10 days before, and felt I should give them the money. FBI, isn't that a crime that Debbie Cook just did? Isn't that coercion? I continue to say no. No means no, by the way. And asked them to leave. They would not, but stayed and continued badgering me. Finally, one of them took me into a side room and told me if I just gave them a check to prove to the captain of Flag that I was good, a good Scientologist. Oh, so I guess when you give $2 million, that means you're a good Scientologist. Or, and I'm not saying about Gardini, but you can rape children and give money, and then you're still a good Scientologist. Facts. They repeatedly told me I should be a good Scientologist and give them the money. I was also at this time very vulnerable. That's how they like them. My daughter had died 1 year before. Wow. And my mother had now died 10 days before. I was alone in the world. Yeah, just like they like it. Aleister Crowley come to mind. I finally gave them a check for $30,000 and they left. Too bad she couldn't have gone and just canceled that check. At that point, I told them not to return, asking me for money. How is this any different than what, like, the Italian mafia or the Russian mafia? How is it any different? It's not. 5. The morning after, my maid came into my bedroom and told me there were 2 people sleeping in a car in my garden. You guys got to do what we do out here out in the country. I got dressed and went to see who it was. There I found 2 Sea Org members, whom I recognized as working for Flag, names, in the Flagship Service Org. When I approached the car to tell them they could not come into my garden in the middle of the night, they got out of the car and asked me for coffee. See, they know she doesn't have her husband or a man there, too. Because you guys know what's up. You guys know what's up. You guys know what's up. I took them into the house and gave them coffee. Bad idea. They then fell asleep in my home. It's because they're probably being, you guys know how it goes. Around 10 o'clock, I received a phone call from Debbie Cook. From Debbie Cook. Isn't this evidence of crime? And they just let her skate out, leaving all those abused children in those hotels in Flag? Who told me I had not given enough money. Coercion. Coercion, anybody? And I needed to give more to the 2 staff members at my home. It's just a parasite group here. She went on and on about the project needing my help. That Italy was really down and it could be the first clear country, etc. That's a bait. Finally, I gave another $50,000. Wow. You're in the middle of the country in America, I can assure you they wouldn't have gotten it. And they'd be, you guys know I can't say everything. 6. In spring of 1992, I returned to Flag. The day after I arrived, I went back to work as an auditor in the Sandcastle Hotel. Now, I want to add that I've heard numerous child sexual abuse accounts from the Sandcastle Hotel. The Sandcastle Hotel of children. Clearwater PD's fine with all that. That afternoon at 2 p.m., I was called by Captain Debbie Cook. Captain Debbie Cook. Captain Debbie Cook. To go to the registrar area in the Fort Harrison Hotel. You guys know where all the children are trapped? Yeah, that's the hotel. I am sure this day was Wednesday. When I arrived, Captain Cook was sitting in a small back room, accompanied by Piers Almquist. Accompanied by Piers Almquist. And a CMO messenger. And a CMO messenger. Was the CMO messenger a child? Inquiring minds want to know. I was directed to go into the room, and the door was closed behind me. You can just tell these people are under heavy mind control. 7. After the door was closed, you know, just how they like it, Debbie Cook said to me, doesn't this FBI Homeland Security, doesn't this make Debbie Cook guilty of crimes right in front of our eyes? Right in plain sight here? After the door was closed, Debbie Cook said to me, we want to know how we can help you in your inheritance cycle. Hold on, I gotta look something up because I'm about to snap. Hold on. Okay, you guys, you knew I had to look it up. And I know there's other terms that the mafia would use, but look at this. Extortion. Extortion is the wrongful use of actual or threatened force, violence, or intimidation to gain money or property from an individual or entity. That's the whole entire Scientology. Extortion generally involves a threat being made to the victim's person or property, or to their family or friends. So when Debbie Cook is asking this lady, what do you call it, tell/asking what they can do with her inheritance cycle, that's a threat. Debbie Cook. Debbie Cook, you should be a little nervous at this point. You didn't think you could get away with extortion and all the abuse of the children and covering up crimes and participating in crimes without being held accountable, did you? And again, Debbie Cook states, we want to know how we can help you in your inheritance cycle. That's evidence of extortion. FBI, Homeland Security, Clearwater PD. This was to speed up my receiving the inheritance. I told her I had my family lawyer and other professionals taking care of things, and that I needed Italian professionals taking care of it, not Americans. She said they knew I had a beautiful villa and other nice things, and that I really needed to help with the Italian Class 9 project. I told her I could not give any more money. My money was in Italy, and my banker would need my signature. She told me they would arrange for Scientologists in America and Italy to loan me money. By the way, they're all still doing these types of things right now as we speak. Sounds like jail time to me, doesn't it? She told me they would arrange for Scientologists in America, that's also crossing the country lines, in Italy to loan me money. Then I could return to Italy later and get the money to pay them back. She also wanted me to call my banker right then and find out about how much money I could take out of Italy at that moment. This is exactly what they do. Threats and intimidation, extortion, wire fraud, and all the LAPD, Clearwater PD, they're like, hey, what did that one cop say when asked about overtime? It's good money. F the children, right? 8, at this point, I didn't know what to do because they're threatening and intimidation. Wonder what the Italian mafia would think about all this. Not that I endorse what they do, I'm just saying. I told her it was too late in Italy for me to call the bank, and I would call in the morning and talk to my banker to see how much money I had in my accounts. Upon this promise of mine to call my banker in Italy, they let me leave the room. I then returned to work. I wonder how similar Lisa McPherson, if she had to go through this kind of stuff that we never heard about. 9, the next morning at 8 a.m., I was preparing for work when I was told not to start working, but to return to the Fort Harrison, where the kids are locked up, being essayed, being made to not go to school, which is illegal, being made to give grown men massages, being abused, being physically neglected, laws being ignored regarding their schooling, where they work all day and they audit grown men, asking them sexual questions, and they're sexually abused over and over. Yeah, that hotel. I did this, and when I arrived at the Fort Harrison, I was directed to the same little room. Inside waiting for me were the following people. Oh, yes, finally, you guys. Finalmente. Debbie Cook, Captain, FSO. Piers Almquist, a registrar. David Foster, a registrar. That tells you those were the adults abusing the children in the Fort Harrison as well, or being complicit in the abuse. Pilar Saldiriaga, Commodore's messenger. Are you guys connecting the dots? How many essays have we heard of on those ships? John Lundin, supervisor of the registrars, Chiara Staples, my FSM. That must have been field service manager. They sure swear they're an employer. It's just freaking all delusion all over the place. Delusion, man. 10. Chiara had been called in and asked to lend me money. She had $50,000 in cash in a bag. Oh, listen to that, Clearwater Police. $50,000 in a bag. Was it unmarked too? Inquiring minds do want to know. Were the bills unmarked? It's good money. And told me she would loan me the money if I promised to pay her back as soon as I returned to Italy. They're trying to clean this woman out. Is sick. And mind you, her mother just died or was getting ready to die, and her daughter had died like a year before. I mean, the sickness. Debbie Cook was all about the crimes. And pay her back as soon as I returned to Italy and received my inheritance. So yeah, I guess her mother did pass. You know, mind you, this woman's probably under grief. It's so sick. Under pressure, I agreed to do this. Almost immediately, David Foster told me that this amount was not enough. Parasites. 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 The same men in there raping young girls are doing this. And that's a generalized statement. 11. Debbie Cook. Debbie Cook. Debbie Cook. Who is accused of child abuse herself, physical and verbal abuse, complicity in child sexual abuse, when she was giving the reports of talking about all the out 2D with the children. That's a crime, Debbie Cook. Wakey, wakey, Debbie Cook, you are committing crimes. And it's on record, Debbie Cook. It's on record, Debbie Cook. Debbie Cook then had an idea. Oh, that should be great. She suggested that Teresa, the wife of Gerald Bloom, names, thank God, who was a class 5, CS, could also lend me money. It sounds like a shakedown. Doesn't it sound like a shakedown to you guys? Threats and intimidation, extortion, wire fraud, crossing country lines, moving money around. Wait, I gotta look up another one. Hold on. I gotta remember I'm on number 11. 11. Okay, so it can be considered tax evasion when you move money from country to country, or tax exile. And I'm also thinking of laundering money as well. How many crimes there? Debbie Cook. Debbie Cook, you're on record of committing crimes. Teresa was called in and asked to loan me money. She also said she did not have money in the USA. You know, the money that doesn't get taxed. Teresa was asked to call her mother in Switzerland. Well, you know, they're all about hiding money up in there. To arrange to loan me $100,000. The money was eventually transferred from Switzerland to the flag accounts. Look at that. Look at that, FBI. They transferred $100,000 from Switzerland. I was praised and told to go back to work, which I did. So, okay, right now, how much evidence do we have of crimes that Debbie Cook has committed? Extortion, wire fraud, tax exile, laundering of money. And let's add the other group. Hold on. For old time's sake, let's just make sure that these folks get mentioned. Debbie Cook, Piers Almquist, David Foster, Pilar Saldiaraga, John Lundin, and Chiara Staples. I don't know how many of those people or parasites are still living, but 12. On the following Thursday morning, I was again called by Captain Cook. What a joke, a captain. What did Debbie Cook think she's a captain of? She wouldn't make it in the military one day. She likes to pick on children. Children that don't have the ability to fight back against her. This makes me sick. And that's my opinion. And having an opinion is legal. So there. I was again called by Captain Cook. What a joke. And told to go to her office in the Coachman building. Ooh, Debbie Cook was so important. She had an office. Was she a prestigious executive? When I arrived, she and John Lundin. Mind you, let's keep in mind John Lundin was in those buildings when a lot of these accounts of child abuse were going on. I'm not insinuating that he did it. I mean, he might have. But you're telling me all these fools didn't know all those children were getting raped? Huh. Piper's calling. When I arrived, she and John Lundin and another staff member, who was at MAA and was also Italian, were waiting for me. It was before 9 a.m. and they wanted more money. Wow. Parasites, anyone? They pushed and pushed me, saying I must help Italy get the LRH materials. That's a bait. It's misleading and it's a lie. This is a church. Come on, you guys. Aleister Crowley, anyone? They asked me to call my bank in Italy and talk to the director to see how much money was available to me. I could not lie to him because they put the phone call on speakerphone. They're doing all this stuff right now. LAPD's fine with it, and so are Clearwater PD. They're fine with it. And since there hasn't been a whole lot of action from FBI, I'm thinking the FBI is okay with all these activities because they're not going in and breaking it up, especially with all the abuse of the children that's on record. Homeland Security. They pushed and pushed me, saying I must help. Okay, I already did that. They asked me to call my bank in Italy. This is where the bank should have said F that. And talk to the director to see how much money was available to me. What she should have done is she had sense, but she was under duress. It's another crime, by the way. She should have started using codes with the managers. She could have done that. Any Scientologists that are going through a lot of stress with all this, if there's anything like this happens to you, when you're talking to the bank manager or the credit card manager or whomever they're trying to shake down you money for, talk in code and start talking about things that did not exist. Let's say you had a trust for your child, or let's say you don't have a trust for your child. We're making up a story. Just say to him, oh yes, and I wanted to make sure that the trust for my son was okay, right? So that bank manager will know something funny's going on. Fuck around and find out. Just remember that. That will help you. So when they're trying to shake you down for a Visa credit card or a MasterCard, which the FBI and Homeland Security seems to be totally fine with all this, extortion of money, wire fraud, what else? Extortion, tax exile, money laundering, threats and intimidation. I mean, that's just a start. Always remember that, Scientologist or anyone else listening. If you're ever under duress like that, I mean, unless you're afraid that your life's at risk, I mean, you have to make a command decision, especially if you have young children. Casually bring up something that doesn't exist. Or like, let's just say, and you got to be like real smooth with it. You have to say, what about the title on my Lexus? You know, just throwing stuff out there. What about the title on my Lexus? And then if the bank manager is sharp, which they probably are very sharp, they're going to say, oh, let me go check on that or whatever. So then that bank manager knows something's not right, okay? That'll save you. I hope that I saved a whole bunch of people right now. I hope so. I could not lie to him because they put the phone on speakerphone. See, she still could have done the coded language even on speakerphone. And of course, the other Italian staff members could understand what was being said. The bank director told me that I had just received money into my account from selling a large piece of real estate. I tried to tell the director that I needed that money for inheritance tax. And also, too, a lot of people, the banks are shady as well, of course, you know. I needed that money for inheritance tax, but he told me I had more than enough to cover it. So they now knew I had money in my account. The captain told me to ask how much I could have sent the United States. Oh, wow. Debbie Cook, you're implicated right here. Debbie Cook, you are implicated in extortion and fraud. Threats and intimidation, just to name a few. So you guys know the captain, because you know Debbie Cook was real delusional. She was a captain of children. I mean, come on. told me to ask how much I could have sent to the United States without my signature. Do you guys see how they've gotten so good at all these financial crimes? He said if I faxed him my signature and a copy of my ID, I could have all the money. I wanted to kill this bank director. Do you think the bank director was getting a cut? You just never know, man. Greed does a lot to people. Because anybody with some good intuitive skills knew something was up. That's a weird conversation to have. One day I'll talk about when my dad passed. Like a lot of the stuff that happened. It was some really evil stuff. I wanted to kill this bank director, but of course he didn't know what was going on. No, I kind of think maybe he did. I mean, he might not have known exactly what was going on, but that should have been red flags all over the place. Just in general, even if you're not speaking coded language, he should have known something was weird. 13. At this point, I ended up transferring $300,000 to the Flag land base. Yeah, I mean, bank directors and that, they know. They would know something weird was going on. So something was weird there. I was very upset by this transaction and by the fact that I was then highly commended at the staff meeting for having donated so much. That's what they always do, even if you're a child rapist. The whole staff clapped for me. I'm not saying that this gal was. I'm saying that they especially kind of like the pedophiles, as long as they have money. However, I felt terrible and promised myself that this was it. I would give no more money. I was also given other benefits due to this contribution. For example, I had been asking for a lighter schedule for months due to a heart condition. Can you believe this, you guys? The malevolence. The malevolence. So a lot of these Scientologists deserve what they get. I'm not saying all Scientologists are like this. I don't think all of them are heinous, like psychopathic, cruel. But people that do this stuff, some of the people we see outside that blue building with the hunchback, some of them have done this stuff. And I'm not shading people with a hunchback. I'm just saying a lot of them have done this kind of stuff. Regular flag staff hours are from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. It was not until, mind you, I just thought of this. The child auditors, they had to give massages and stuff until 10:30 p.m. Almost sounds like an escort service. And that's my opinion. It was not until after I had made this contribution that a lighter schedule was finally approved for me. All this is narcissistic in nature. 14, I asked them to return to Italy in order to see my attorneys. Like, why does a grown woman have to ask for permission? Tori Christman always says this, and she's right. All you got to do is walk out. Yeah, I know they follow you and stuff, but you just have to be firm. And I know they try to harass and all that, but you're locked up in your mind. Yeah, I know the fair gaming and all that. I was in the military almost 6 years, lived in the country, lived in New York City for 2 years. I know. You got to just say this is enough, I then asked to return to Italy in order to see my attorneys and finalize my inheritance and to visit my granddaughter. I requested a leave of absence. This is supposed to be a church, you guys. It's supposed to be a church. And the U.S. government is just like, oh yeah, it's a church. I was told that it was okay to leave, but before I left, they wanted me to make my total donation $1 million. Wow, they just wanted every last dime from her. See, some of the people that are in there, in the Scientology going through this, especially the public, I don't think that I think that a lot of them are not happy about the child abuse. I do think this. I believe this. But look at what this woman was under. I mean, she was just trying to stay alive. And Her mother had just passed, and then her daughter had passed a year ago. Like, when you're in that state, you can't think right at all. You can't even help the children when you're about to be almost executed the way they were treating her, you know? I was told that it was okay to leave, but before I left, they wanted me to make my total donation $1 million. Wow, just talk about greedy parasites. Can you imagine this? And then none of them even have enough money to buy shampoo. It's like the most parasitic organization I've ever seen in my life. And asked for the balance to add to the previous donations. This was all for the Italian class 8, translation of materials, and to pay for, you guys know that was a bait, you know it probably never happened, and to pay for people to come from Italy to flag the train. Throughout the day I spoke with my seniors in the organization and begged to go back to Italy. I tried very hard to avoid the issue of money. This was in September. Also, this is smelling like kidnapping to me. You guys smelling kidnapping? Look at all these crimes they committed under the United States watch, under the Italian watch, and nothing happened. Not to mention the children, because you guys know. Jeez. 15. One Thursday morning at 6 a.m., you know, muster time, high levies showed up at my home. That's another boundary violation. You need to come to people's home in the country. You'll see. He told me that I had to come right away to the Fort Harrison because they needed me. I arrived at the Fort Harrison and was taken downstairs. They love this downstairs stuff. They do it in the Blue Building, too. They want to make sure people can't get out. That's why. LAPD's fine with it. Clearwater PD, they're super fine with people being locked up in rooms in the basement. It's good money. In a room awaiting me were Captain Cook. We're Captain Cook, just like Daffy Duck. Captain Cook. Captain Cook. And Dave Foster. 16. They told me that Tito Mazza, who was one of the first 2 men who came to my home in Italy, was on the phone from Italy. Tito told me that the Italian statistics were down. Oh, here we go. Here we go with that crap. And they really needed my money. He told me he had found someone who could lend me $200,000. He said he would go to the person in Italy, and the 2 of them would call me back in America, and we would do a conference call. These are so many crimes being committed, it's unreal. He did this going to the house of Franco Baggio, who happened to be one of my PCs. Mr. Baggio told me he could loan the $200,000. However, he needed to get it from the bank. He also told me he needed the loan paid off in 1 month. I mean, they've already got $1 million from her, haven't they? She didn't want to do it, but they're trying to get her to donate a total of $1 million, and now they need more? Unreal. I did not agree to do this. That's against the law right there. And the captain and Dave Foster badgered and harassed me until I finally just hung up the phone. Well, finally, this lady, I think, she has since passed away. I believe, if I'm correct, she was one of Stacey Brooks. I believe she was one of Tori's friends as well. 17. At this point, somebody called the captain out of the room. This is a joke. Debbie thought she was something. Debbie ain't nothing out here. Debbie ain't nothing out here. Walk around like that in that bullshit outfit in the Army, Marines, Navy. You'll find out. At this point, somebody called the captain out of the room. The captain. Leaving just Dave Foster and me in the room. Mr. Foster started yelling at me. Can you imagine? They still haven't had enough. Becoming as red as a lobster. Who does this sound like, you guys? Didn't we hear firsthand accounts of how Mike Rinder would scream at people? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And getting so upset, I thought he was going to have a heart attack. You could only wish, right? He wanted me to give the money. He told me I was not a good Scientologist. It's always their move. that my money was WOG money, W-O-G, and needed to go to Scientology, and that I was unethical. Imagine children going through this, you guys. Imagine the children going through the same stuff. I kept refusing to give any more money. Finally, Dave Foster slapped me in the face. I began to cry. Oh my God. All I can say is I wish he would. These men are the biggest cowards I have ever seen in my life. Not every single one. I don't even know why I have to explain that. These are not the kind of men that protect women. And men like that, I have zero. When I say zero use, I have zero use for men like this. Zero. And when the planet is literally cleared from these kind of men, the planet will be a better place. Coward. 18, the captain FSO then returned to the room. I told her Dave Foster had slapped me. Oh, this should be great.
Debbie Cook, what did you say when he slapped her? I want to hear what you said, you fake Captain Debbie Cook.
Dave Foster denied it. Of course he did. Captain FSO then immediately began asking me again for more money. You see, she didn't even miss a beat. She didn't care. You think that's not a sign of a woman abusing children? It's my opinion that Debbie Cook is a child abuser. That's my opinion, and it's free to have an opinion. There's nothing illegal about having an opinion that someone is a child abuser. They kept badgering me, insinuating that if I wanted to go home to Italy, I had better give the money. This woman had lost her mother, too, and then her daughter a year previous. This is so sad. Soon I was an emotional mess. I wanted out of that room and to go home to Italy. That's kidnapping as well. They also kidnapped her. So there, let's see, FBI, Homeland Security, we got extortion, wire fraud, tax evasion, what was it called? I forgot what it was called. Money laundering, wire fraud, threats and intimidation, extortion. Anything else? Can you guys think of anything else? FBI, Homeland Security. I feel so bad for her. I wanted out of that room and to go home to Italy. It was apparent to me. Oh, kidnapping. Yeah, let's not forget. I finally agreed to give them whatever money they wanted. At that point, they again called Franco Baggio, and I told him to give them money. Franco then wrote a check and gave it to the Tito Mazza, who took the check to Luxembourg. Oh, there we go. Moving the money to different countries so they don't have to pay tax. It's another crime right there. Damn, little redhead in Wisconsin can figure this out. Huh. And put it into a flag account there, of course. Sounds like they're, what is it called? Offshore accounts or something like that. Only after this did they let me out of the room. I then returned to work. Because, you know, nobody can have a day off in there. "19, I now wanted to leave for Italy." Yeah, because she's kidnapped. They're not letting her go. Amazing how I can figure it out. But Osa was holding my passport. Oh, there we go. Osa, wait, let me check. Hold on. You know, because I didn't do well in algebra. Hold on. What was this, 1991? Okay, according to Google AI Overview, Mike Rinder left the Church of Scientology in 2007 at the age of 52. So it's my deduction that Mike Rinder would have been aware of the passport that was being held. So it's my opinion that Mike Rinder was aware of the passport being held of Pagini. Isn't that a crime? Trafficking? But Osa was holding my passport, and though I had asked for its return every night for 20 days, they would not give it to me. Who all was in Osa? Okay, I was looking for a list of OSA members in 1991. If anybody has that, Could you please send it to my email at eyes2see33@yahoo.com? Thank you. But OSA was holding my passport, and though I had asked for its return every night for 20 days, they would not give it to me. That's kidnapping, that is trafficking, that is a whole bunch of things. I finally went to the Captain FSO at the end of October. Wow, you see what they did to her? This is just sick. I begged to be able to return to Italy so I could get the money to pay everybody back. Wow. Also, during this time, I was sick with worry because they had told me they wanted $1 million, and they hadn't yet gotten that out of me. So every Thursday, I was terrified. That's Stats Day. I was terrified that I would again be called in and forced to give more money. The captain finally okayed the return of my passport. Oh, Debbie Cook. There's more proof that Debbie Cook was absolutely involved in federal crimes. It's right there in print. Right there in print. Finally okayed the return of my passport. Soon after getting it, I was again called into a meeting in the captain's office in the Coachman building. The captain told me to write CSW to go to Italy and get it signed by all of my seniors. You see what they do to people? It's disgusting. Children go through the same thing she's talking about as well. Isn't that wonderful? And bring it back to senior staff, HCO, and then to her. This was the end of October. At this time, she asked me if I had any more money in the bank. Wow. Parasites. Criminals. Criminals. I admitted that I did. Lying to the captain isn't overt. You hear that, Debbie Cook? Lying to you was an overt, but you're not in there anymore. You never were a captain. You're just nothing but a fake captain. And that's my opinion. I was in the military for almost 6 years, 2 honorable discharges, served during Desert Storm. What you gonna do, Debbie Cook? I'm allowed to have an opinion of you, and it's not good. She told me the stats were down. Of course they were. See the manipulations? That's what narcissists do. And I needed to again contribute money. Wow. I was so anxious to get my CSW signed so I could leave. You see what they did to her? They kidnapped her. Clearwater PD is fine with all that. I again wrote a check for Flag. This was for $25,000, written on my account at First National Bank, AmSouth in Clearwater. See, I told you. Am I ever going to get this finished? After this, I tried to get everyone to approve my CSW. Like I said, children go through the same thing. To go home to Italy. Towards the end of November, I received all necessary approvals. Yeah, once they got every dime of her money. Just these people, some of these people are sick. I finally left for Italy in early December. Did they even let her go to her mom's funeral? Or I guess she must have already gone. This is sick. 22, when I arrived in Italy, my attorney told me that before the 12th of December, I had to pay the inheritance taxes. I paid the taxes and then found that nothing was left in the bank. Wow. I decided I had to sell some property, as I was now virtually penniless. It's like Bob Minton. Didn't he go through something? Or no, he didn't go through that. 23, I then called Mr. Baggio and told him that I was not able to repay his loan immediately. He was furious. I explained that I had given all my money to Flag. He didn't care. More narcissism. 24, in January of 1993, I called Flag and told them that I couldn't return as I was broke and was trying to sell property. I spoke with Debbie Cook. Her suggestion was that I put the property in the name of Scientology America. It's another crime. Even I know that. You're going to put property in a different name? Unreal, you guys. It's so unreal. It's like the police and some of the feds and all that, they're like just complicit in all of this. It's unbelievable. Poor children. that I put the property in the name of Scientology America, and they would sell the property. It's another crime right there. Back all of the loans I had taken to pay FSO. I told her this was not possible as the property was not fully in my name, but also in the name of my granddaughter. Wow, they're going to take the granddaughter's money too. This is just, who was a minor and another relative. Because my granddaughter was a minor, the court would represent her in any sale and put the money aside for her use. Why Debbie Cook's not in jail is beyond me, you guys. So anyone talking well about Debbie Cook, you should side-eye them. 25, Debbie then directed me to stay in Italy to sell the property because Debbie Cook was a handler. And while I was there to continue working for Flag as a missionaire, she said I should audit people from my home. She would send the clients to me. Wow. She said there were a lot of Italian people in disagreement with Scientology. No kidding. You don't say. With Scientology, who would not go in to an org, but would come to my home or I could go to theirs. So the people would pay Flag and I would audit them in Italy. Of course, I got paid nothing to do this work. Of course not. 26, I now began to sell my art and antiques. Just to survive. They cleaned her out. The Italian Polizia were fine. The American feds, all these people were fine with all this stuff going on. Until I finally sold the property. I was then able to repay all the money I borrowed on my behalf. Franco Baggio charged me 22 interest. Wow, what a bunch of just freaking slime bags. Interest on the money. This had never been discussed or agreed to between us. Slime, just slime. Also a narcissist move. 27, as soon as I paid Mr. Baggio, I received a call from Captain FSO. The fake Captain Debbie Cook, what a joke. She said she knew I had sold my property. Of course she did. She called me directly because I had previously screamed into the phone at another staff member. She had a right to do that, by the way. Saying I was sick of getting calls from Flag and to leave me alone. Yeah. Debbie Cook asked me at this time to pay the balance of the $1 million she wanted. Why isn't Debbie Cook in jail? I said I could not. I reminded her that I was doing all sorts of auditing in Italy. She insisted I return to Flag. I still refused. Finally. "28, about 2 weeks later, I was in Milano to audit some of the OT7s at this time. I was mentally a mess. My mother had died. My daughter had died. My cousin had committed suicide. I wonder if he was a Scientologist. I'd have to look into that. I'll bet you, how much do you guys bet her cousin was a Scientologist? I wonder if he's the guy that jumped off the building in Italy. Because there was this really nice young Scientologist who kept getting pressed for money. Kept getting pressed. He had a wife and a daughter, or a wife and a young baby. I forget, girl or boy. He was so stressed he couldn't come up with the money. He just jumped out of the building and killed himself. In a great, great organization. It's called Harnessing Dark Energy. Oh my God, I'm trying to get through this. I had given all of my money to Flag and my family's business had lost all of its assets, just like they like, while I was in Milano. Tito Mazza and John Lundin bothered me about making further donations. Those two should be in jail as well. Why didn't she go to the authorities at this point? I mean, come on. I do realize she was at her end, though. I finally broke down and wrote a check for the balance to make up $1 million. Oh my God, bad idea. At this point, I had paid a total of $1 million to Flag. Thank God she was supporting all the child abuse over there. And $40,000 to Franco Baggio for interest. Hold on. Okay, guys, this is extremely long, so I'm going to go ahead and stop at number 29. And then I will come back to this later. It's unreal. I'll leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.